you ever seen rain? Where does rain come from? And how does it get in the clouds? Have you ever heard of the water cycle? Today in this video, I'm going to answer all those questions and many more. Make sure you listen to write down all the steps of the water cycle. On Earth, matter exists in 3 different states: liquid, solid, and gas. Most of the water that we see on Earth is in the liquid state. We see liquid water in creeks and streams and in the ocean. We drink it at lunch and we use it to wash our clothes. When water is in the liquid form, it takes the shape of whatever container it's in. Right now, you can see that the water in this bottle takes the shape of the bottle. But if I pour it into another cup, the water takes the shape of this cup. Another state of matter is solid. When water is a solid, it has a different name. Pause this video and write down what you think water is called when it's in its solid form. Did you write ice? That's exactly right. When water is a solid, it's called ice when it freezes. You can tell when something's a solid because, unlike liquid, it doesn't change its form no matter how you hold it or where you put it. The third and last state of matter on Earth is a gas. When water is in its gas form, it's called water vapor. Water vapor has no shape because it's a gas. Water is turned into water vapor by the use of heat. The major source of heat we have on Earth is the sun, but I can't bring the sun into this video because it's way too large and really hot. So instead, I'm going to use this stove to heat up some water.
Now we're going to learn about the steps of the water cycle, but don't forget about water's 3 forms. They're important. When it's a rainy day, you can see puddles forming outside on the pavement, right? This part of the water cycle is called accumulation because water is accumulating on the ground. This doesn't only happen in puddles though, but also in lakes, rivers, and oceans. Do you ever notice what happens when it gets sunny out after it rains? What happens to the puddles? Pause the video and write down what you think happens. Did you write down that the water disappears? It does. The water in puddles disappears, and this is another step in the water cycle, called evaporation. Do you remember the water vapor that I talked about earlier? If not, go back and listen to that part of the video again. In the evaporation stage of the water cycle, the sun heats the water and turns it into water vapor. We can't see the water vapor because it mixes with the air instantly and it is too small for our eyes to see. The water vapor is lighter than air, so it goes up and up into the sky. As it gets higher, it gets colder, and it makes the water vapor change form again. It turns from a gas back into a liquid. This step is called condensation. The liquid water hangs onto dust particles in the air. This is called clouds, which I'm sure you've seen in the sky all the time. Eventually, the clouds get too heavy, so the water falls back down to earth. This step is called precipitation, which we normally call rain. When the water falls back down to earth, do you know where it lands? Were you thinking on the ground? That's right. The water lands back on the ground and it accumulates again into puddles and streams and lakes. Those are the 4 steps of the water cycle: accumulation, evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. The water cycle has no starting or ending point, and it never ends. Some stage of the water cycle is always happening.
Write down any questions that you have and one thing you learned today about the water cycle or states of matter. Be ready to talk about the water cycle again tomorrow in class, and we're going to make a cool craft to help us remember the steps of the water cycle. See you tomorrow!